How's it going, guys? Girls, hope you guys are having a great week. So I'm back today with another video. This one is part 2 of our end of year discussion. So in this video, Edge, Dante, and myself get together and talk about some of the best games that we played in 2020. Let us know what your picks would be in the comment section below. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. All right, without further ado, here it is.
Hello there, guys. Again, this is part 2 of our thoughts of the week, best games of the last generation. We're now doing the second part, which is top games that came out this year, which I think this year has been very random, but good and bad. 2020, dear God.
It's been a bit of a hell of a year, hasn't it? But I think for gaming, it's been quite good.
It has.
There's been some good games that came out this year, and there've been some shit games that came out this year, but there's been lots of choice.
I wanted some of them to be good, though. I really did. But we'll go to
We'll save that for part 3. We'll save that for part 3.
Part 17. Oh dear God, why?
Yeah.
So, this is a quick thing again for those who are watching. I'm joined today by N7 Dante and N7 Kate. N7 Kate's been doing videos for quite a long time, and she does a lot of games, and so her insight will be very valuable because I haven't played some of the games that she has played, which would be quite good. And Dante is a Nintendo nut. I do play Nintendo games, but Dante plays a lot more than I do.
When he gets round to it.
He gets round to it, yeah. So we'll do it again, similar formula. We'll do one each, and we'll have honourable mentions. There might be some overlap from the previous video, so we won't go too much into those. I will go first, I guess, maybe?
Yes, fine, yeah.
So my first top game of this year was Resident Evil 3 Remake. And I know that can be quite a controversial game, potentially, because it was a bit of a short game, and it was a fun game, though. And I got into it from playing Resident Evil 2 Remake. So those who watch my channel, they may see I've done a Let's Play going through the whole story of Resident Evil 2 Remake, and then I, as a dare, bought Resident Evil 3 Remake, and I had much fear P.
It was fun. I really enjoyed watching your playthrough of it, your live stream of it. I really enjoyed it. It was really good.
I think that the key moment, if I can fit this in a video edit, was me going like, no! While he grabbed me and threw me with a flamethrower. That was my favourite moment of goddamn it, why? I'm not safe. But I think I did pretty well, actually. But toward the end, I did do a fair bit of dodging in it. Capcom are doing really well. I just hope they don't kind of go backwards a little bit.
Visually, the game at the moment, a Capcom.
Yeah, the Devil May Cry 5, Monster Hunter World, Resident Evil 2, and Resident Evil 3 Remake, Resident 7. Resident Evil 8 hopefully will do really well next year. I'm hoping it will. They're going to be doing Resident Evil 4 Remake. But this game was a lot of fun. I had tried to play the original on PlayStation, and I just didn't feel comfortable with the mechanics. This felt very intuitive. It felt very fun to play, and I would go back and play it again, definitely on a challenge video, maybe. But it's a game that I would go back and play, and I think that's an important one. If you play it through, and then didn't want to play it again, in terms of just because you feel I can't really be bothered with it, it's kind of loses its replayability, and the fact that I can go back and play it again. I mean, I played 4 times through the second one, so yeah. I think if you haven't played it, you can borrow my copy and have a go, but I would recommend Resident Evil 3 Remake just because it's a fun game. And Nemesis was terrifying.
Yes, yeah. Although I think Mr. X was scarier.
He was.
But was still pretty terrifying was Nemesis. But yeah, Mr. X is that psychological impact. But it was really cool to see Jill. And I like the fact he took the gameplay mechanics of the second one, which was great, and that modern take on it and brought it into 3. So that was really, really cool. You know, and yeah, it was good. I enjoyed it. I had heard a lot of criticisms against the game being really short, but actually, like, I feel like maybe that was a little harsh on some people's part. I think it was still a good game.
Yeah.
But it doesn't have the same as Resident Evil 2, because in Resident Evil 2 you can play either as Claire or Leon, right? So that gives you 2 paths to play down. So it's always going to give you more content. Whereas 3, you only have Jill to play as. So I think it's a bit unfair, is that comparison that they made, you know? But I enjoyed watching you play it. I won't be playing it myself, but I enjoyed watching you play it. So that was fine.
I'm glad it's done, though. I'm glad that it's done, at the very least. But yes, I put my feet in the horror thing there, so that's done. Obviously, I will complete 7 at some point, and then I will play 8, and that will be probably where Ensiv and Kate and Dante will laugh at me in pain. But we digress. That was one of my top ones for 2020. Kate, what was yours?
Yeah, so this was already mentioned in the last video, but earlier in the year, one of my favorite games this year that I just fell in love with, loved every moment with it, was Final Fantasy VII Remake.
Yeah.
It's going to be on many people's lists this year. I've played a lot of games. I have played a lot of games this year because I have to for my channel. And I've reviewed a lot of games, and I reviewed this game this year, and I just loved it. I had not played the original Final Fantasy VII, unlike Dante and Edge. So I went into this game with a completely fresh perspective. With no real expectations other than I knew the characters were good and I knew the story was good, but I wasn't expecting to get as involved as I did, and I just couldn't put the game down, and I just utterly loved it. I loved the improvement in terms of the gameplay mechanics, sort of taking the traditional turn-based combat and introducing the more modern combat that they put in 5 and blending that with the best of both worlds. I loved how, because I did go back and play the original, the first section in Midgar, and I loved how they took certain bits in that and really expanded on it. I loved what they did with Jessie and the smaller bit characters in the original, and they fleshed them out and made them so much more expanded. And I loved that they gave them that kind of character development, which, really added to that. Then the whole bit where they went to, what's the place that they went to where he does the dancing and thing?
Oh, the Honeybee Inn.
The Honeybee Inn, and that whole section was, in Wall Market. That whole Wall Market section was fabulous. What they did with expanding, just not only Cloud and Tifa and Aerith, but expanding other side characters around it that really made that story special and offered something new for returning fans to the series, which I thought was really great, but also had that grip for new people coming to it. And I'm super excited to see where it's going to go. Musical score is fab, but it's undoubtedly it's going to be in my top 10 list this year. It's actually quite high up there. I'm not going to give any spoilers away because I will be doing a top 10 games of 2020 video that'll be coming, but it's fab. It's one of the best games that came out this year. Sony's had a good year this year in terms of exclusives, a very good year, and Final Fantasy VII Remake was a coup for them. It's great, fabulous game, and can't recommend it enough. It was really, really good. I fell in love with it. First I was on Team Jessie, then I was on Team Tifa, then I was on Team Aerith, and then I was on Team Everyone. It was just fab. Really, really good. I loved it. And Cloud is just cute and adorable and funny as hell. So yeah, it was really good.
No, I agree, because Cloud, they did a lot more with him, and with the technology and the facial expressions.
Oh yeah,
they really did a good job with him, and
the voice acting was top notch. The English voice acting was so good.
No character has been able to just utter the word "nope" and make me crease. Nope. It's what?
It's so good.
Yeah, it was fun.
So good. That game had me laughing, crying, cheering, squealing. It brought every reaction out in me, and that's a great game if it makes me react in that kind of way. I almost wished I'd done a playthrough for it. After playing it, I wished I'd done a let's play, because my reactions to it was just so funny. I think people would have enjoyed watching it, but no, it was really good. Yeah.
Good.
That's definitely number one of them on there. I'm not doing these in any particular order.
Same.
I'm just picking them. Yeah.
All right, Dante.
I'm honestly going to struggle because even though I've played a lot of games, they're all from previous years. My backlog has been worked on. I suppose what the ones I could talk about. So I wouldn't class some of these as my top ones, but ones that are definitely worth some sort of mention. So one of the older ones from this year was Last of Us Part 2.
Okay.
So yeah. Once again, that was one of those games where it just before I played Part 2, I actually got back round to playing Part 1. It came with my my console. So like for many years, I just hadn't. I'd started the first game and then just not gone back to it. I went, right, okay, now's the time. So I think I got more kind of out of it through playing them back to back almost. For the first time. And I could see that even though some of the mechanics have really not changed and could have done with some extra tweaking, there were some nice little quality of life moments. And I basically enjoyed both games. The fact they were a bit tensy moments, so it wasn't super fun to play half the time because half of it was just like this is stressing me out.
It's quite a traumatic storyline.
And basically it didn't deserve all the crap it got on the sequel afterwards, and that was all down to people just not having enough empathy in a way or in a particular narrow viewpoint. Because when certain things happen, my brain is like instantly going, "Oh, why has that happened? Okay, that's obviously bad," but I instantly know why. It's there are reasons, but everybody else, a lot of other people, were just instantly that kind of gut reaction and going, "Oh," like that. So they the way they wrote, once again, it's playing a story, it's playing a movie almost. It was like and going where you go, but you're obviously putting yourself in the character's shoes all the time, and being sneaky enough, very clever, being able to put you in the shoes of both sides of the coin, if you will. It was very clever. It flew over a lot of people's heads, and therefore they just instantly hated it outright. But as the game as it was fine. There was nothing wrong with it. It was quite happily playable. Like there were some bits. It started to get a bit tropey and repetitive here and there, but that might have also been because I just played the first game before, and it's like, I'm just doing the same stuff over and over again.
Parts and stuff. Yeah, I agree with you on that one.
So they also mixed it up with some new enemy types and all this and that. So it was of that. So if you weren't super affected or took the story too personally, like some people should be able to divide themselves from the game.
Agreed.
But also you want to, it's so I can see why it won a bunch of awards and all that.
I don't think it should have got as many awards as it did. Personally, I think it got
Probably
too many.
not,
I think
no,
part of that was kind of like a apology or like tipping the balancing scales. I don't think it should have got as much hate as it did. I'm with you on that. And the death threats to Laura Bailey and everything that happened were just completely unacceptable.
Get lost, you idiots. Exactly. Yeah. So in a way, half of it might be their flipping fault that it was. Who knows? It went through so much crap.
It's an intriguing one because I've never played either of the two games. I know that N7K, you've tried to get me to play them.
They're good. They're really good.
And I mentioned it. I probably will play when I have the time or the energy to pick it up. I probably will. I think I have kept a close eye on it because obviously I was curious to know if it was worth playing, and visually it looks brilliant. Some of the mechanics, like I think it was about this rope you can use and all this. It looks really, really well done. So in terms of Naughty Dog, have done amazing well when it comes to things like Uncharted, when it comes to Jak and Daxter, and obviously there was Crash Bandicoot back in the day. So they are known for making really good games. And I think the biggest argument was the story. which obviously we could spend a whole video doing that quite comfortably.
Which I did.
But no, you know what?
I did 2 videos on it.
I think the important thing is that if Dante's enjoyed it, and this is this entire part of the list, if you think that was your top 10 game or top game this year, great, more power to you. Because if you enjoyed it, that's the important thing. That's what we're looking for in a game that we enjoy. Because if it's hit all those buttons, yes, there's a bit of controversy here and there, but I think what game doesn't at the moment? I mean, there's been a lot of games in the last 3 or 4 years that have had a little bit of controversy, a little bit of problems here and there. Are we going to keep hearing more about this in times to come? Probably. And I think next year there's going to be the next version of that, or the next. Cyberpunk. At some point, we will probably hear. Sorry, I had a bit of cough there. The next big. There'll be another game that will take over that a little bit. But yeah, no. If you enjoyed it, great. I think that's fantastic.
Yeah, it's just one of those other games. I won't say it's like my best, but it's certainly not my worst or anything like that. And
I have some shit.
Which we'll do in the next one, but yeah.
It released in 2020, so I got that much.
All right, fair enough. Okay.
Oh yeah.
So next one then, should we go on to?
Yep. So they obviously the other one was Final Fantasy VII Remake that was mentioned, was one of my other top of games of this year. So I'll just go on to the next one. So the other one that I've been playing recently, which I've really had a good time with this year, has been the Trails of Cold Steel series. And the 4th one came out this year, and it's like a nice swan song to the storylines I've been playing through. And came out on PS4, and it's going to be on Switch, and I believe PC next year. I would definitely recommend, if you're looking for a story-based game. I mean, it has some tropes in it, like the power of friendship and teamwork and everything, which even I'm like, oh god, kill me now. But generally, it's very well done. I love the characters. I love the gameplay. Very, very good fun. And it makes me want to play the previous ones, because it's a long... This is like the 3rd story arc in this world. So every story arc of a series of games is focused on a certain set of characters, and it crosses over. So the other 2 series of games I want to go back and play. So that's a very good plus for me if I want to go back and play these games. I want to find. It's a JRPG, and it focuses on Reen Schwarzer, who's become a teacher at this military school, and he's training the new Class 7 in military tactics. And
sounds like Fire Emblem.
This organization. Kind of. I mean, he was a student in the main campus a few years back, and now he's become a teacher at the branch campus. And you've got mechs, which I'm like, yep, okay, I'm sold. And you've got tanks, guns, swords, magic, and it's kind of based a little bit on like Germany, I guess, in terms of the kind of like the aesthetic of like you've got an emperor, an empire. You've got other countries and nations that are also kind of at war with you, so you're kind of seeing their plot and their story, and you sort of build it up a little bit. And one of the small countries called Crossbell is involved, and that's what was in the previous story arc. So for me, it's like I'm enjoying it, but I'm like, am I going to enjoy it more by going back and playing the previous titles? So really having a good time with it at the moment. It's not. Visually, it's not like it's not going to like be the best for visuals, and it's not going to be. It's kind of a niche game, but if you like your JRPGs, like I do, I would definitely give it a go. I would definitely recommend starting with the first one. All 4 of the games are available on PS4. You can download them off the PSN store, or you can buy them physically on disc, which I think is great. And they do carry over save data. So if you've got data on the first 2 games, it will carry over the third. Will it? I'm trying to remember now. Anything you do in the first game will carry over to the second game, and then likewise if you've got data from all 3 games, the 4th one will give you rewards and stuff for having that done. So that's quite nice. But yeah, I would definitely recommend giving it a look if you ever want to start a JRPG.
Is it the kind of thing where you have to play? You really should play 1 first, 1 and 2 and 3 before playing 4.
Well, number 3 does give you an omnibus of what happened in the first 2 games.
Okay.
So if you don't want to play the first 2, you don't have to. My favourite so far has been number 2, because number 2 has a lot of it's a direct continuation of the first one, and has a lot of really cool features and story. And then likewise, 3 sets up the kind of the overall finale of that particular storyline. So I'm going to say 2 and 4 so far have been my fave. But again, once I've fully done all of the just the content of 4, I will give you more of an in-depth analysis of it. But yeah, I will say it's one of my highlights of this year is number 4.
Okay, that sounds good. All right then. So, do you want me to go for my next one then? Yes, okay.
Yeah.
So my next one, I mean, I mentioned this in both these are in like the first video, but my next one, of course, is Ghost of Tsushima. On the PlayStation. Both of these are PlayStation exclusives. I do play on other consoles, I'm just saying, but really Microsoft haven't brought anything out this year. But Ori and the Will of the Wisp, which was a good game. So Ghost of Tsushima is definitely on my list this year. It's one of the best games I've played this year. I platinumed it. It's a beautiful, beautiful game. Set in feudal Japan. You play as Jin Sakai, one of the last surviving samurai, as the island are invaded by the Mongols. And basically from there, you try and sort of retake the island by getting allies and friends to work with, alliances and things. It's really, really good. It's a gorgeous, beautiful, beautiful game. When we are talking about games that really do showcase, like, what the PS5 can do, it's a great example of that end of a cycle where, you know, everything's really showing at its full like potential. It's beautiful, it's gorgeous, super stylized. Literally, I could just spend time climbing up to the top of a mountain and just sit on the mountain and just look out at the vista while sort of this gorgeous haunting music, or play my flute. I could just happily do that. But combined with that, it has some great open world exploration. I get a horse, which always makes me happy. No boo. I love horses in games, so I just have a thing for having my own. I get attached to them, really, really attached to them. So when I accidentally throw them off of cliffs, then yeah, like I did with Roach. But the combat's also really, really good. The combat is fab. And you can choose whether to approach missions stealthily, very a la Assassin's Creed.
Yeah.
And there's some really sweet builds that you can do for that. Great abilities. But then when you actually get into combat, because usually games that have stealth, when you come out of stealth, they really punish you. So it's like The Last of Us, for example. Like, that is a game where it wants you to stay in stealth. And the moment that you come out of stealth, you're going to die. Unless you're, like, ridiculously skilled. But Ghost of Tsushima isn't like that. So it allows you to tackle, you know, certain areas how you want. So if you do come out of stealth, you obviously fall back on the whole samurai fighting style. It's got sword stances, which you can select with the directional button. And they're very much geared towards different enemies. So enemies with swords or long spears or whatever it might be. But the shields, yeah. But the combat is really, really fun, and it's really fluid. And it just feels great, and you can really string together some awesome moves, and you just feel awesome. It's such a good game. It's so good that I platinumed it. And there are very few games I will platinum because I just don't have the time to platinum games with having to cover them, you know, for the channel and move on to... I usually finish a game, review it, move on to the next thing. But the fact that I had to platinum this game, and the fact that I spent the time doing that should be a very clear indicator of how good this game is. And I just loved it. Absolutely loved it. And I want to jump back in and play it now on New Game Plus and play the multiplayer. And yeah, I highly recommend it. It's a brilliant, brilliant game. It's probably why it's one of the best games that came out for me in 2020, which is why it's definitely on my list.
Join us, Edge. Join us.
Yeah. I will join, definitely. It's one of the games I want to play after Christmas, definitely. In fact, I do intend to probably start in January playing it because I've got some vouchers and I'm going to buy it there and then. I do want to play it, especially because I know that I would be the most morally grey samurai. Or I would be the trolliest ghost ever. The Mongolians would be like, what the hell is he doing? and it'd be like, you mad, bro? You mad? Like,
Come and get me! Yeah, I could see it going awful like that. Well, to avoid repeats and that on my side, I can't choose ones that you've already gone for, but they're blatantly there on the list. Meanwhile, on my laptop, I very rarely do my PC style of gaming, but Command and Conquer, the remaster, came out.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, that did come out this year.
And
Yeah.
so that was based on the old 1995 game and Red Alert, which was 1996. So
Yeah.
a lot of it, the nostalgia was pinging high on that one. Because this is like EA oldie DOS games. I actually got the original CNC with like the first PC we ever purchased. It kind of came with it, and real-time strategy.
I'm the baby of the group here.
Yeah, Nicola on you. This is like, when real-time strategies were real-time strategies. And so the pixely messes have been upgraded to nice shiny graphics. The soundtracks are still there, but they also re-recorded them all as well to make some really crisp. In fact, they got all the original guys back in because it was originally done by like that Westwood studio that got absorbed into EA, and they've just done a beautiful job resurrecting these two games. They also found a load of archive footage and stuff like that from like because they had all those fun cutscenes they did in between that were all like super cheese but really like amusing to like give you the mission briefings before you got into each level, and they've just like shown like the behind the scenes of that when they're doing all the green screen and all the playing with the blatantly prop fake guns and stuff like that. it's just like it's just a nice little time capsule of that era, and it was the first game that really kicked off real-time strategy. It was everything pretty much copied after that. I think Westwood did Dune 2 first before that. But other than that, it was like the first of its genre, and it was, the proper grandfather of it all, and it just kicked off every other game after that did the same style. And yeah, it was just fun. So it's not until now, though, I realised back in the day I was either really good back then, or I saved scum like a crazy hack. It's like, the incoming enemy are like, it's like just shot out, right, reload, no, right, okay, I know you're coming, okay, right, I'm going to slow this game speed down so I can handle it, because the AI works instantly as my human hand trying to move my mouse over there and do this and get to the other side of the map and then do that. It's like, I can't do that. But it's still enjoyable game, and just that's that cool. Classic bit of history. I liked it.
Oh yeah,
nice. It's a good choice. That was a good choice. I forgot that game came out this year, but I do remember you playing it and like just you and talking about all stuff. Yeah, I could see that you were enjoying it and the nostalgia strings and stuff. Yeah, it was a good game.
True. I'll move on to Edge.
Well, that's it for me at the moment. In fairness, because because I played a lot of I played a lot of games this year, but they're all games that came out last year or year before.
Yeah, same.
Right. I've got a couple more I can talk about.
Yeah, by all means.
I've just got some minor mentions, but we'll let Kate go first.
Okay. So obviously I have to mention the elephant in the room, which is Cyberpunk 2077, which just came out. I've played I'd say about 30 hours of it so far. I'm playing it on the PlayStation 5. Now, Cyberpunk is going to be a really hard game to review this year because it's obviously, as we know, had massive performance issues. I've had a couple of hard crashes and things like that. I'll talk about that in the third video. But it's still heartbreaking because at the core is a really amazing game. Like a really amazing RPG. CD Projekt Red... it's very my heart breaks for the developers because it's very clear that there is so much passion and heart in this project, and Night City it's huge. It's just mind-blowing, the scale of it, not just the length and breadth of it, but the verticality of it, and the way in which the city feels very, very alive, with all the different factions and NPCs and side missions and things that you can do in the world. But then it's got an incredible story, amazing voice acting, really good like side cast of characters as well, and then the gameplay it's really, really fun. To say that this is CD Projekt Red's first person shooter, they've done a damn good job. to say that. Now I've been playing it on the PlayStation 5, so to some degree I've been fairly lucky because the game does perform. Like, gameplay performs pretty smoothly at 60 frames per second, and when you are doing a first person shooter game, that's very nice. Yeah. And I know that the PlayStation 4 has had some issues with dropping frame rates, and I hope to God that CD Projekt Red can get all those performance issues sorted with patches and updates to it, because once this game is patched and fixed, it very much is potential game of the year. It's that good. It's that good. And it's just kind of heartbreaking that a lot of that is going to get lost in all the bad things going on, in the media and everything else going on. And the poor way in which this game has been released and the way in which this game has been managed and marketed is shocking. And that's the issue, that it definitely needs calling out for sure. CD Projekt Red should not get given a pass on this, and the management definitely shouldn't. But I've got to put my hands out to the developers and say, listen, if this game had been delayed, which it should have been, and they'd been given the time to actually bring the game out when it was ready, which they said they would have done first time, it would have been received so much better. But when this game is running at smoothly and is running fine, it's so much fun to play. It's literally, I mean, I was playing it last night, wasn't I, Dante? Just doing side content. And I jumped in about 8 o'clock to play it. And I was just involved in it. And then Dante knocks on the door and it's 1:30 in the morning. And I didn't even realize that it was that late because I just got completely swept up in it. And it's just a fab game. It's a really, really good game. And so, it does break my heart. What I would say is don't buy it right now in the current state it's in. If you're going to get it on PlayStation 4, wait for play the game the way it's meant to be played. You know what I mean? And it does break my heart that some people are not getting the same experience that say certain PC gamers are getting, or even what I'm getting playing it on next gen console. Even though it's still the PS4 version on that console, it does play smoother. But what's there is so freaking good.
It's definitely something to say about it, because I am playing it on the PS4, and so I've got longer loading screens. I've got I've blue screened quite a few times before patch 5. I don't know if that's helped because it's had different versions already, but still, I'm still actively playing it though, because despite all the stupid bugs and little annoyances where they haven't quite,
it's not quite ready.
Where just little touches and things where you're going, why is that doing that? What? That's wrong. That should be up there. That should be down there, or whatnot. It's still just it's like playing the tabletop RPG, but in a video game. Everything is there. It's like you are in that world.
And there's so much freedom. There's so much freedom for how you can approach things, and your dialogue choices and your options, and
you're properly making an RPG character in your style, because there's so many branching trees and you can't take every skill under the sun. No. But you build it like you prefer, like what you want, and then it's got a lot of replay value as well and everything. So bugs and all this aside, it's a smashing game. It still needs some polish.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. So I had to mention that, obviously, Cyberpunk, because I think it still needs mentioning. It is a damn good game. You know what I mean? Performance issues aside. And then obviously the other honourable mention I would say in here as well are things like Star Wars Squadrons, which I played on PC this year. Was not expecting to be praising EA, because we all know I call out EA and their bullshit all the time. with their microtransactions, and Lord knows they've done some terrible things with the Star Wars franchise. But the last 2 Star Wars games they've done have been great because they've just let the studios do their thing without interfering. Yeah. So Jedi Fallen Order that came out last year was a fabulous game, and Star Wars Squadrons that came out this year was a fabulous game. It is, do you remember like the original Rogue Squadron on I think, was it the GameCube that it was on?
Yeah.
Was it GameCube?
Yeah.
Classic. Star Wars Squadrons it's like every Star Wars fan's fantasy. Those that want to be part of those big space battles and be in the cockpit and it really does. It gives you that feeling. It's jaw-dropping in moments. But the gameplay, the minute-to-minute gameplay, and all the different like game mechanics in it are so cool. Like the when you're in your like, I was getting hyped just thinking about it. But when you're in your cockpit and like you can choose like, what to focus on. So say, for example, you've got someone behind you, you can actually control your shields and divert the power to your rear shields on your ship. So you've got increased defense behind you, and then do some kind of maneuver to get behind them. You can choose to focus on speed. You can focus on your weapons. It gives you so many different classes of ships to use on both sides. So you actually get to play as both sort of the rebellion as well as the Empire. And then it's actually got a really good story, which is like story in an EA game. Oh my God. Yeah, but it's got a really good story. It's about a 10, 12-hour campaign. And it starts off like in the middle of the original trilogy, right at the beginning, but then it picks up pretty much after Return of the Jedi and carries on. And it has some very well-known like cameos, and it even has some links to Star Wars Rebels, which is the animated series that Disney did. So it has some ties to that, and it's just a lot of fun. And that's just playing the campaign. I haven't jumped into too much into the multiplayer, but I hear the fleet battles are really fantastic. And then this game also supports VR, and I hear that this is one of the best VR games. Bar Half-Life Alyx, this probably is one of the best VR games to come out this year. And if you have a VR headset, oh my God, like that must be incredible, like to play it. But apparently it's really good in VR and supported from the beginning. But I really enjoyed it. Really enjoyed it, and I encouraged Dante to get it. And I think you got it on cheap, didn't you? And you're gonna carry on playing it.
Yeah, I've got to get back onto that. Good. There is a lot of detail into it. It's very clever.
So much detail, and it's just so much fun to play. Like, and the mission structures are really good. Like the things you have to do in the mission. Oh, they're so good. Like I can't recommend it enough. Like I really enjoyed my time with it, and so it's nice to be able to say something positive about an EA Star Wars game, and we have to give credit where credit is due. When they deserve it, which isn't often, but when they do deserve it, yes. Star Wars Squadrons I definitely recommend it. It's a great game. No microtransactions. What the hell? That's so good. Really good story, really great gameplay, and good multiplayer. And it's actually really reasonable priced. I think when it came out, it was only $34.99 when it came out. And I think now you can get it for about £20 in the sale. So it's great. It's on PlayStation 4 as well, I think. But it's really good. Yeah. So yeah, I had to mention that as an honourable mention.
Oh yeah, that's good.
I think the only other game I was maining just before Cyberpunk came out was Watch Dogs Legion.
Oh God, no, that's in the worst.
Yeah, I can no doubt see. It's like, it had some good potential, but it doesn't quite go. We'll talk about that next part then. But other games I'm playing, like I still just haven't got round to on backlogs and that. But I've touched on like various more indie games as well, such as like Cat Quest and Fall Guys, Lair of the Clockwork God, Worms Rumble, and stuff like that. Just lots of little touches in on that. And even though it's technically an older game, I haven't bought it again on Switch, but because it's technically 2020, Naruto Shippuden Ultimate Ninja Storm 4 is out on the Switch now.
That's an old game.
Yeah, I know, but it got out today. That's why if if later games like Dragon Quest 11 are allowed,
Oh well, okay, fair enough then. I see where you're going with that one.
then that one for the multiplayer times and closeness to the original stuff, that was another good one. But no, you're gagging to move on to part 3 now anyway. I can tell.
I think that's a good range of games. Yeah.
I'm being very cautious.
I could go into more, but I won't do. I'll save that. I'm going to do a top 10 games of 2020 video. So that'll be out on my channel probably the first week in January. I'm planning to upload that. So
Cool.
that'll be there if you guys are interested in watching it. But yeah, that's just a couple of the games I played this year and enjoyed.
Well then, so we'll end this video and then we'll do the final one, which is disappointments of... I'm going to say there's just too many. But we'll this one might be a quick one because I know I will run for hours. But yeah, we will do the final part and then thank you for watching this series of videos. And we'll go from there.
All right, thank you guys for tuning in. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow. And we'll see you in the next video.
Jazz.
And all that jazz. Bye, guys.